Hello friends and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're making a Texas sheet cake. So to start with, go ahead and preheat your oven to 400 degrees, which this cake is going to bake for 25 minutes. Then in a bowl you're going to add 2 cups of all-purpose flour and 2 cups of sugar, which we're going to mix this up so that way the sugar and the flour are kind of distributed evenly through the bowl. That includes scraping your sides, getting down to the bottom of the bowl. This probably take about a minute or so to do, but you want to make sure this is all mixed up before we add any other ingredients. And once we get this all mixed up, we're going to sit it to the side and work on another part of the cake, but we just want to get this completely mixed first. Now you're going to need a medium to large saucepan, which we're going to add 2 sticks of margarine to. Go ahead and turn your heat up on this to a medium high. We want to melt these sticks of margarine or butter, whichever you prefer to use, and get them totally ready to mix other ingredients into. To this, you will be adding 1 cup of water and then 5 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa. So as you can see in my pan, I've added my butter and my water. And then here are my 5 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa. Now we are going to heat this until it's boiling. We need to get the temperature up on this, melt the sticks of butter, get the water in there going, and then we're going to mix it all together because this is actually part of the cake itself, not the icing, just the cake. So as it's heating up, we will melt all of the butter down and mix it through, and then we'll add additional ingredients. As this is getting ready to melt, you need to take a spatula or whatever and stir it around as the temperature is coming up. This is going to help everything to break up. And if you want to break up your pieces of butter or margarine, go for it as you go along. It'll be a little faster to break up. I just put them in here because I know that when this gets to temperature, they're going to melt down regardless. So if you've never tried a Texas sheet cake before, the consistency of the cake itself is very dense. It kind of is like a brownie, but not the same because it's actually thicker and more dense. It's one of these things where if you've never had it, you really do need to try, because the topping alone is amazing with the ingredients you're putting together with the nuts and some powdered sugar and other ingredients. You're gonna make this really hot, tasty topping that you're going to pour over top of the whole thing. It's hard to describe until you eat it, because when I was making mine, I know that people have made these where I've been in the past, but I never really eaten one, and then I ate it and I was like, okay, this is good. Especially if you have sweet tooth, this is what you want. So as you can see in my pot, I am mixing up all my ingredients. I have my cocoa mixing in with the water. The butter is starting to melt. But as I said before, we have to get this to a rolling boil. You have to get it melted down. This is going to help later with actually combining the whole cake together. So along the way, as you're waiting for it to boil, keep stirring it, keep going. This will take a few minutes. This is not a quick cake to make. However, once you get it all together, it is really worth the effort. One important thing you need to do as you are cooking this is to stir periodically. You don't have to do it all the time, but you want to keep it going so that you don't scald the bottom. And as you can see with mine, everything has melted now. So depending on how hot your burner or your eye gets on your stove, it might take a little bit more time. I know sometimes things cook hotter than others. My stove is really kind of one of those ones where if it's in a good mood, it'll heat up really fast. So once you've gotten this all cooked, carefully pour it into a large glass bowl or whatever you have to mix in. Be careful, this will burn you. Do not just splatter it all over the stuff. Just take your time, pour it out, use your spatula, get it out of there. And once you got it all into your bowl, we're going to start adding some more ingredients. And it's okay that this is hot. It's supposed to be when you're mixing this up. So to this, we are going to add the flour and sugar that we already mixed up in the first bowl. And get that in there. You can pour the whole thing in at once. It's perfectly fine. So we're going to use a mixer in a minute. And I'm doing something I never do. I'm using my hand mixer to do this because I actually got a KitchenAid stand mixer. And when I got that, I just put away my hand mixer and just forgot about it. But I figured in this case it's better. Start this thing out on low. You do not want to throw this all over your counter because the flour and sugar will shoot out. I was fortunate with this and didn't make a mess. I am the king of throwing flour when I actually turn on a mixer. I don't know what it is. I don't know. But I try to stay on top of it. And in this case, I didn't make too much of a mess. So go ahead and mix this through and get all that flour and sugar into your mixture. And it's okay that, it was hot. Just do it carefully. Don't burn yourself. And you're going to want to go around the sides of your bowl to pull everything in. Now this is going to take, probably a couple minutes to mix it completely. And once we're done with that, we're going to start adding more ingredients. So you can see mine's pretty much mixed up now. So to this, we're adding a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then to that, you're going to add a teaspoon of baking powder. And then a half a cup of buttermilk. And then 2 eggs that are already beaten. And put them right on top. And then once you get this in here, we're going to mix up again. Because essentially at this point, you have the makings of your cake. Not the icing, just the cake. So we're going to go ahead and get this completely combined together. Just a reminder, in a second, you are going to need a baking pan to put this in. I actually went to the store and got one of those aluminum ones that has a snap-on lid because it's just easier to put a big sheet cake in something like that rather than trying to deal with it, because once it's cooked you can actually leave it in there, put the icing on top and cut what you need from it as you're serving it, and it's less to clean up. It really is. I mean, I wouldn't take that someplace fancy, but if you're gonna have it around the house, it works. So keep mixing until everything is completely blended together. I'd say do this for a couple minutes at least to make sure everything got pulled from the bottom and the sides. Now, this is the cooking pan. I'm going to actually spray it with just regular everyday cooking spray. Spray the bottom, spray the sides. You do not want this sticking to it. Now, if you didn't do it before, your oven should have been preheated to 400 degrees. Just a reminder, this is going to bake for about 25 minutes. You might want to check it just to see if the center is completely cooked. You can stick a toothpick in or something, or even a butter knife for that matter, just to see how much is still sticky in the center. Mine took right around 25 minutes, but I had my oven on for quite a while to heat up. So it's one of those things, just make sure that you have a hot oven before you put this in. So get everything out of your bowl. You don't want to waste any of this. And then get it into the oven, like I said, for 25 minutes. Now we're going to start on the topping while that's baking. So in a saucepan, and I'm talking a medium at least size saucepan, you're going to add a stick of butter. And then to this, you are going to add 6 tablespoons of milk. And then you're going to add 3 or more tablespoons of cocoa. Now, with the way I did it, I added extra to mine. So if you want to add more cocoa, you can, because I wanted it to be really chocolatey. And then there was 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract added to it. Now again, we're going to heat this up to a boil and get everything mixed together. So as you can see with my spatula, I'm mixing it all through and getting it ready for the butter to melt. Now, when you do get this boiling, it's not that you have to leave it for a very long time to boil, because we are going to add more ingredients to it. I would just get it up to where it's definitely boiled and everything is mixed through, and as you can see, it kind of looks like a thick hot chocolate in a way. Just stir it up, make sure you don't have any lumps of anything in there, make sure all your butter is melted or margarine, whatever you're using, and get it completely cooked through. And when you're done with that, you're going to actually pull it to the side to add more ingredients. So once you're boiled, you can turn off the heat at this point, because by the time you've gotten this done, your cake should be about done as well. Because as you can see, mine is boiling, so this is a good time to make sure, give it one last stir before you actually remove it from the heat. So the next things you're going to need are at least a box of powdered sugar, which is a pound of powdered sugar. And then you're also going to need a cup of chopped pecans, because we're going to add that to this as soon as it stops boiling and we actually let it simmer down a little bit. So as you can see, I am adding my powdered sugar in, and I'm doing it just in scoops. I'm not trying to dump it hard, because if you do, it will fly all over the place. Scrape out your bowl, don't want to waste any of this, and start to mix that in. Now mind you, we do not have heat on anymore. We don't want it to continue boiling. We want to actually let the stuff start to just cool down, do its deal as the other ingredients are being mixed. And just continue to stir, breaking up the lumps. There will be lumps from the powdered sugar just because it's what it's going to do when moisture hits it. But if you use your spatula and keep stirring it through, it will start to break up. And like I said, a cup of chopped pecans are being added to this. So once they are in your pot, you're going to want to stir those through as well. Because what's going to happen is, once this is all mixed together and the cake is out on our counter, we're going to pour this over top the cake. And that way you're just going to do that and let it sit. And the cake is actually going to absorb a lot of the moisture. And you're going to get this fudgy topping on top of it. So here's our cake. And here comes the pour over. And just distribute everything around the top as best you can. And if you don't get it all in the right place, you can use a spatula to move some things around when you're done. And like I said, this is a very sweet, rich cake, and it's amazing to eat. So scrape everything out of your pan, don't leave anything in there. And when you get it all on top of it, you can decide if you need to redistribute some of the nuts or whatever, because I move mine around a little bit to make sure when people are eating, everybody gets an even amount of the nuts and the topping. And this is going to be hot for quite a while, so you want it to cool. And when you're done, it'll look something like this. A fudgy top cake, which is very dense but amazing to eat. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And I hope to see you next time. Have a great day.